Hello everyone, welcome you all in this lecture of statistics for PGDBA interview preparation. So first of all, congratulations if you made it to the interview round. And today we will be starting with the first lecture of the statistics. My name is Satyam Nilmani and I completed my program from PGDBA from 2020 to 2022. And in this lecture, I will be taking uh, all the experiences of all the aspirants who have qualified this examination. Okay, so I have spoken to many of the people who are in the PGDBA now, that what kind of questions have they prepared for, what kind of sources have they referred when preparing for these interviews. And I've also taken some uh, uh, expressions which are available in the YouTube and the blogs. So if you're relying on this single source, then you are actually not missing out, which is actually available in the YouTube. Okay. Now, today's session will be very much introductory. We may not be looking into too much technical of the statistics, but we will be discussing that what it is all about, and we will be looking about that what is the purpose of asking the statistics question in the business analytics program. Okay, and along with the course, I will be giving you 2 or 3 assignments in each lecture, and I expect that you will be solving those assignments, those homework problems, and uh, following the activity assignments I'm giving to you religiously. So it will be helping you to prepare yourself for the interview along with the course. And you are not needed to note down whatever I'm teaching because these PDF will be available to you. Okay. So first thing, the statistics here is only designed for the PGDBA interview preparation. Now, if you are planning to switch into data science role, then this particular course may not help you much from that point of view, because I have specifically uh, taken topics into the depth which can help you to qualify the interview. When you prepare for the data science interview, the job interviews, you are actually required to study things in a little more detail. Okay, so this is the disclaimer I wanted to uh, mention in the very first sentences of the session. So since this is a recorded session, so if you are stuck at any point, okay, just note down your query at that moment and look at the lecture till the end. So it may be possible that your query is addressed in the whole lecture. If it is not being addressed, what can you do? You can come to us, you can ask your query either through the mail, and if you have enrolled into this program, so you can always continue, you are having my contact details. So starting with what is statistics. So this question can be asked to you in the interview. The recruiter may ask, the panel will be coming from 3 institutes. One professor will be coming from IIM Calcutta, one professor will be coming from ISI Kolkata, and the third professor will be coming from IIT Kharagpur. So the statistics questions are mostly being asked by the professors coming from the ISI and IIT. Okay, so they may ask you about what do you mean by statistics? Why is statistics important? Why should we study statistics? So we will be discussing the answers to this question in today's lecture. So if I share what is the statistics, so statistics is a science of what? Science of collecting, summarizing, analyzing, and reporting of numerical findings. Okay, and when you apply these findings in the context of some business, so it becomes the business stats in that case. Okay, so this is the definition. If you understand this definition, then you won't be needed to mug it up. Okay, there are 4 steps involved in the science of data. That is collecting the data, summarizing it, then analyzing it, and reporting it. Reporting in terms of some meaningful story. If you do these 4 steps, so all these steps, the science of following these steps is called stats. And if you closely observe, these steps are actually in the sequential manner. You have to collect the data at very first, then you have to summarize it, then you have to analyze it, and then you have to report it. Okay. Now one thing, to prepare for your interview, you should have some real life application of the statistics available in your mind. Now, what kind of application you should prepare? So most of you are actually having some kind of work experience. Okay, so whatever is your education background, you may be a commerce graduate, you may be an engineer, or you may be from some other field. Okay, so whatever is your education background, just keep an account of it. Suppose if I'm an agriculture engineer, okay, so I'll keep a note of it. Okay. Then my work experience. Prior coming to this program, I was working as AI researcher in healthcare. Okay, here I have noted it down as business analyst in healthcare. And what is your hobby? My hobby is not cricket. It was chess actually. So, but I have written here my hobby is cricket. Okay, just for the reference. So these three things you should be noting down about yourself. Now, from the education background, you're agriculture engineer, you're a mechanical engineer, you may be computer science engineer, or maybe a commerce graduate. Okay, so how can you apply the knowledge of stats in your academic field? So prepare 2 or 3 use cases from that side. Okay, for example, if I speak from my experience, we can leverage the statistics in preparing digital soil mapping report. There is a particular field, digital soil mapping, where we leverage the concepts of statistics and machine learning as well. Okay, so in a very similar way, you can prepare few use cases from your education background. Okay, so they can ask you, suppose you are a mechanical engineer, so what do you think how the stats can be applied into the mechanical engineering? And there may be chances, if you are not having very vast amount of work experience, they will be picking the application of the stats, picking any specific subject from your book. Okay, so be careful what kind of stories, use cases you prepare. Now, second use case, you should prepare from your work experience. So how stats can help in the healthcare. Okay, how stats, the knowledge of stats can help the leaders in the pharmaceutical industry. Okay, and this question can be asked in an indirect manner as well. So what do you think, what are the challenges in the data collection methods in the healthcare sector? Okay, what kind of reporting KPIs do you think we should prevent in healthcare? So these things you should keep in mind. You may be coming from the e-commerce sector. Okay, so how the knowledge of stats is being leveraged, being used by the stakeholders at different levels in e-commerce sector. You should prepare these things. These are actually the giving the visibility about your profile. Also, it gives the confidence in the recruiter that yes, you are aware about the statistics, you are aware about uh, your domain, whatever the limited experience you are having. Okay, it gives them the confidence. Okay, this is the person we should select, this is the person we can take a bet. Okay, it is the right suit for this course. Third thing is the hobby. Suppose your hobby is cricket or it is chess. Okay, so they may either ask you some puzzle based on your hobby, or they may give you some use case, some practical use case you have to explain within the room itself uh, about the about your hobby. For example, if I say my hobby is cricket, so they can ask, okay, so how do you evaluate the performance of say your favorite cricketer? It could be say Virat Kohli. So what statistical parameter will you be using? If or if I have to summarize the uh, 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 all the match summaries of all the players in Indian cricket team, so what all numbers I will be presenting? Okay, so will I be taking mean? Will I be taking mode? If I have to present it in the graphical way, so what kind of chart I will be preferring? So these questions they can ask. Okay, so what is chart? What is mean? What is median mode? We will be discussing all these things, but you should from the day one you should prepare that the questions about the stats, if they are being asked, they can have some experiential from your education background, work experience, and hobbies. And these are the 3 points which you include in your introduction as well. So they are most likely that they will try to correlate their question with your experience of it. Okay. Now, one activity I am giving, just prepare one story for each category from your education background, from your work experience, and from your hobby. Where and this should not be a fake story. It should be realistic. It may happen that this is not your first-hand experience in the story. You either had observed looking at someone or you had read about it. Okay, but prepare one story from each experience of your life, that I studied my mechanical engineering, my agriculture engineering. I realized the importance of the machine learning, the statistics, the analytical problem solving skill. Okay, in this way, you should prepare one story. So you, if you are being given a chance, you can narrate that story, be brief, and it will be convincing to other. Okay, your answers will not be academically oriented. If you are taking the help of the stories from your real life and correlating it with your backgrounds, work experience, so it gives the other person an impression that you are actually more of an observant person. Whenever you look into your surroundings, you try to observe things from the lens of strengths, which is a good thing, which is the required skill sets uh, for a person who is working into or going to work in the field of business analytics. Okay. While preparing the story, make sure you understand what kind of data is being used, what kind of summaries you can present, and what kind of analysis you can do, and how will you present the data. Okay, these three, four things you have to prepare about your education background, work ethics, and hobbies. Okay. Now, second activity I want you to do. These two activities you will keep polishing as soon as we progress in the whole session of the statistics. Okay, there will be at least 5 sessions. Okay, so after going through all the 5 sessions, you will be able to prepare a mature content about the activity one. And going with the activity two, select any company or any startup or any application in your mobile. Okay, and comment what kind of data do they use and what kind of analysis do they do, how do they present their data. Suppose you take a company, say Zomato. Okay, so what kind of data Zomato is using, how we are providing, or what kind of data we as a customer are providing to the Zomato company, how that data is being evaluated, how that data is helpful to the company Zomato. Okay, you can take an example of YouTube. Okay, how the YouTube is taking the help of all the data we are providing in the form of comments, in the form of likes, in the form of subscribing channel, all these things. Okay, and what kind of challenges are there in collecting, reporting, analyzing, presenting the results. Okay, so make sure while doing the activity two, you are taking any such company, startup, or mobile app which is not related to your education background, hobby, or work experience. So following these two activities, you will be very much prepared about the application of stats, which is having some relation with your background, and you have the knowledge of stats to those fields which are not related to you. Okay. Now, thing is, why business needs statistics knowledge to make decisions. So this question can be formulated in multiple ways, but the intent for this is, what is the purpose of studying statistics, as you are somewhere going to study about the business. So what is the need for the stats? So if this question is being asked, so you can always mention that the core purpose of the leadership is to make decisions, is to evaluate risks and make decisions. Okay. And the stakeholders involved, especially at the leadership level, are actually more confident about those decisions when the decisions are data backed, because it gives them a confidence. Okay, whatever the risk we are taking, that is not exceeding our risk bearing capacity. Okay, they are more informed, they are well informed, more aware. Okay, so if the decision makers of the company are taking decision without any doing analysis, without any statistical thinking, so it may be possible that they are right, but more chances are there that they will be making wrong decisions. So it will be a kind of blind guesses. Okay. So the keywords you can use in your answer is more informed. Okay. Without stats, decisions will be kind of blind guesses. Okay. And stakeholders become more confident. So these kind of keywords you can use in your answers. Okay. Now, what are the top reasons that the business need the statistics? One thing we know that stats actually work on the data. Okay. and we actually process the data, we convert it into some information, and we analyze those information, we leverage the findings in the information, and we generate some stories, some results, some actions which can be uh, implemented into the business. Okay, so this is nothing but the process of taking a decision, and since you are taking decision based on data, so decision making is better. Okay, so I've taken one example that if the leadership is asking which product is performing better, okay, if the leadership of a company is asking this question, so how will you find which product is performing? So there may be 5 products in the company, there may be 7 products, but on what basis you will say this product A, product B is performing good? Okay, you will be comparing them, and when you are comparing, you should have a number to compare. Okay, when you are having some numbers to compare, so actually the data will be in the long databases. Okay, that number has to be summarized so that you can compare. So that process is actually the stats. So stats is actually helping you to summarize the data of different products, and these summaries can be means more related to what kind of analysis you are doing here. Means either it requires the mean, median, mode, variance, standard deviation, or whatever is there. A question could be what are the chances a customer will return. Okay, so it is a kind of question of probability. So these questions will be giving you understanding that how statistics make sense in the business. Okay, now understanding customer behavior by analyzing patterns in purchasing, preference, and feedbacks business can customize offerings. Okay. There is one thing: recency, frequency, and monitoring. We understand behavior of customers on 3 angles. One is how recently a customer did the transaction, how frequently a customer does the transaction, and how much spend does the customer do in each transaction. So on these 3 angles, these are not the only criteria, but most famous persona we create about customers based on RFM. So you can use these keywords while explaining. When I say use, you are using these keywords. It does not mean just throwing some technical jargons without understanding them. So when you use the jargons, so it helps you to explain your uh, crux of your thoughts into simpler words. Okay, but if you don't use it, if you are not aware, it's fine. Okay, do not deliberately use the jargons you are not comfortable with. Okay. Now, example is Netflix recommends shows based on viewing history using statistical models. Now, these models are not completely statistical. They also involve deep learning based models. Machine learning is heavily involved there. But statistics is also a part of those models. Okay. Forecasting and planning. Okay. It helps predict future trends based on the past data. Okay. So retailers estimate holiday demand using historical sales data. Quality control we do using the tools, techniques we study in the statistics. Okay, one famous is the Six Sigma. Okay, we will be studying all these things in this session. Okay, it is just the summary of what we are going to study in the stats. Risk management we do, so it quantifies the risk, helps minimize the losses in uncertain situations. Okay, for example, insurance companies have price policies using probability models. Now, probability model is not the only mean to do some quantification on the risks, but it is one of the methods. Okay, performance evaluation. You every business is being measured on certain indicators. You can just like when you measure the uh, temperature on degree Celsius or degree Fahrenheit. In a similar way, the health of the economy is being measured on the basis of GDP. In a similar way, we evaluate the health of the business on certain indicators. We call those indicators as key performance indicators, KPI. Okay, and we take the help of the statistics to make those KPI more reliable. Okay, and the KPI should not be biased. There should not be any kind of uh, impurity. Impurity in terms of they are not biased, they are not skewed. Okay, so we use the statistical KPI and we check that whatever the KPI we have taken is not inclined to a particular value. Okay, we will be taking the use cases, that what kind of KPI, what kind of summarization we do. Okay, how do we generate the inferences? Okay, in the upcoming sessions. Okay, for example, the analyzing year-over-year growth in different regions. So these are the different examples. Now, statistics, in a very layman term, I can call it to be the language of the data. You are having the data. When you have to speak anything about the data, you use the words uh, defined in the field of stats. For example, I you have always used the word like on an average. Okay, like the average value. Okay, the maximum value, minimum value, what is the range? These are the keywords you use in your daily life. So these are actually the terms. Okay, friends, sorry, some internet disruption happened at my end. So I'll be repeating that these are the different examples we used about how stats is actually helping people involved in the business, whose decision actually impact business and the lives of millions. Okay. Now, in a very layman term, I can say the stats is nothing, but it is the language of the data. In our daily life, we have used the words like average, okay, minimum, maximum, what is the range, okay. These are the words we have been using in our daily life without realizing that these are actually the metrics or some measures defined in the stats in a uh, very technical manner. Okay, so these are actually the languages which are using over the data, okay, which are defined in the stats. So I can call the stats as the language of the data. Whenever I have to speak about the data, I have to tell some story about the data. So I will be leveraging the keywords. Okay, the vocabulary I'm using to explain the summary of the data, that vocabulary is actually being written in this text. Now, what is data? Data is actually the raw facts, figures, or observations collected from the world around us. World around us means everywhere, means in the online space, in the offline space, everywhere. Whatever the raw facts, figures, and the observations you are collecting, everything is data. And data can be in any form. It can be in the audio, it can be in the word, images, numbers. Okay, this talk is means whatever the points I'm here mentioning, it can be a data. Okay. Now, data is a kind of raw material. Okay, and when statistical is a kind of tool, so you apply the tool on this raw material and you create some product. Okay, and that is the product which helps companies to, not only the companies, even in the research areas and even in our general life, these results help us to take a better decision. Okay, one thing, this is the phrase which you can use in your statements. Data is something that tells you what is happening, and statistics something that tells you why is it happening. Okay, so data focus more on what, stats focus more on why. Okay, and there will be a person who will be having some domain knowledge, who is having some experience about the businesses. Okay, that will be using this data and the stats, and that person will be telling, okay, this is happening, and these are the reasons that is happening, and what should we do? I know the reasons, I know what is happening now. What after knowing all this, what should I do? So that call, that decision maker is actually a person. Okay, that person who understands business, who understands the domain. So and that is where this program actually trains you for. It makes you that person who understands the data, who understands the stats, and who understands the business, so that you can take informed decisions, more calculated decisions. And when the risks are calculated, you are more inclined to make uh, profits or uh, yes, you are inclined to make more profits using the minimal resource. Okay. So I think things are sorted till here. I am actually giving this session in a kind of summary of what will we be studying in the whole 5 sessions. Okay, there may be 1 or 2 sessions here, and today's session is a kind of summary. And whatever the story, whatever the keyword I'm using here, you can take a note of it and try to practice them, try to involve them in your expressions, include them in your experiences. Okay, so that it will make other person to understand, okay, what you are trying to say. If I take one example here, the example of a pizza shop. Suppose you own a pizza shop, and every day you note down that the sales data. So for example, if on Monday number of pizzas sold are 45 and the type of crust is thin, okay, and the customer rating on Monday is 4.2. Similarly, on Tuesday the summary is 60 pizzas were sold and cheese burst was the type of crust that was being asked by the customers, and the rating is 4.5. Similarly, for Wednesday, it is 35 pizzas are sold for thin crust and the rating is 3.8. This is the data. Okay. Now, these are the raw facts, okay, which are collected on your daily transactional basis. But having this data is not communicating me anything. So that how, if the question is, I have to improve my business, how will I use this? So it is not telling me anything. So I have to process it in something that can convey me some story, that can convey me the pain points of the company that is been facing. Okay, how can I optimally allocate my resource? What actually the customer wants? Where am I lacking in satisfying the customer needs? These are the questions that data is not helping me to answer them. Okay, so I'll be taking a very uh, uh, minimal use of stats here, since we have not discussed much about the stat. That is the average pizza sold per day. If I ask what are the average pizza sold per day, so you will be taking 45 plus 16 plus 35 and divided by the number of days which have been taken. Okay, if they ask the average pizza sold per week, okay, so it will be affecting my determinant. Okay, we will be studying it in detail that how do we calculate average. If the question is which crust type is the most popular, so if they ask which crust type is most popular, so if I take the data of 7 days, so out of 7 days, which is being asked more, okay, so we'll be taking the more. If the question could be, are the sales increasing or decreasing over the week? Okay, so we'll be using the trend analysis. Is there any relationship between the crust type and the customer rating? So I'll be leveraging the correlation, cross tabulation, some other things. Okay, these kind of questions are actually helping me to understand about my performance, my business, about my customers. Okay, so I'm leveraging the data, summarizing it, and trying to make my business more profitable. So in this case, if I try to generate one insight using the knowledge of stats, and this example is a dummy. Okay, so inside, I'm just, it is not the actual insight, it is a kind of insight we can present. That is, cheese buzz pizzas are ordered more often and have a higher average customer ratings. Means it is being liked by most customers and they're also happy. Okay. So consider promoting cheese buzz just on weekends. Okay. So this is one of the insights we can present. Okay. So these are the things, these kind of insights you actually are required to present when you work as a business analyst and when you graduate from schools. Okay. Now, one thing in the very first page, I gave you one assignment that you have to prepare 2 or 3 use cases from your education background, work experience, and hobbies. Try to prepare uh, this kind of mm, these kind of insights. Okay, prepare anything you can share with me. I can help you to make it more polished version. You can speak into the interview. But these kind of insights that you present, it gives me the confidence. Okay, this person knows about that. This person knows why that person is looking for the PGDBA course. Okay. Now, interview, the person who is taking your interview can ask if the machine learning can do everything, means whatever the statistical analysis we discussed about, machine learning ML models can do these things. So why should we learn the stats? So if ML actually is more precise in terms of prediction, in terms of looking for the trend analysis. Okay, ML is more precise, ML is more reliable compared to stats, then why should we learn stats? So if this question is being asked, then we will say, actually it is actually the reason that the interpretability and the explanation of stats is human friendly compared to the ML models. Most people do not understand what is happening behind the algorithm. The black boxes, especially for the deep learning system. So black box means something is happening in that box and I am not aware. And if the leadership is asking what causes this to happen, we don't have any answer if we are solely relying on the ML. So we actually take the help of stats to create stories, to actually understand what is the thing wrong we have to follow. Okay, to explain, uh, to give the confidence to the leadership that you have to invest your resources, your money, your energy into this sector, into this direction. Okay, so that's why we learn stats. Stats give you the confidence. Okay, and model validations, machine learning models, their validations and assumptions are often relying on the statistical tests like p-value, confidence interval, residual analysis, and more. We will be studying about heavy terms in the coming sessions, so you are not needed to take much stress about it. Okay, the questions could be how accurate is the model, is it overfitting or not? So to answer these kind of questions, we take the help of statistics. Now, data quality and pre-processing. One thing that machine learning model actually works on the data, and the data is always not in the form of the perfect format that can be fed into the machine learning model. Okay, so we have to compute it, we have to pre-process it, we have to do a lot of uh, efforts in preparing it, and those efforts are being discussed in the stats. So stats helps us to clean the data, to understand the data before feeding it into the ML model. Because ML models, some ML models are having some assumptions about the data. Okay, if we are feeding a data into a particular ML model which is not following its assumption, then the results are not reliable. Okay, so we take the help of these stats. We detect outliers, we detect skewness, missing values. All these require statistical thinking. If we are sensing anything here problematic, then we will be choosing our algorithm accordingly. So these are actually the steps within the stats. So even if you are ML enthusiast, you will have to study the stats. You cannot ignore the stats. Okay. Now, suppose machine learning, the advantage of machine learning is when you have a high amount of data. Okay, and even the is deep learning makes no sense. Means you are actually uh, means you should apply deep learning when you have high amount of data. That is the only case then deep learning makes uh, uh, the differential advantage over me. Okay, when you have small amount of data, then deep learning models may not be giving you uh, uh, results. Means the results will be comparable, equivalent to any model. Okay. Now, if the data is a very small quantum, so in those cases, even ML will not be giving you the reliable results. You cannot rely much on the model results. So if the data sample is small, so I can generate the most of the results using the statistical techniques. Okay. So when the data is limited, ML fails and statistics shines. We will be taking the use cases in our sessions. For example, A/B testing is one of them. It's very common, very simple method in stats that is being done on uh, testing on different use cases about the businesses. We'll be taking you later. Uncertainty matters in business. Okay, so businesses don't just want a prediction; they want to know how uncertain is. Statistics quantifies those uncertainty, which ML alone does not always provide. Now, I'm not saying that ML does not do it. ML alone does not. And machine learning and statistics work together. It is not that statistics alone is the James Bond, ML alone is the James Bond. They complement each other. So machine learning is kind of automation of the statistical analysis at the scale. At the scale means when you have very high, okay, but without understanding stats, you cannot explain, trust, or improve the ML. Okay. Now, using ML without stats is like driving a Tesla with no understanding of the dashboard. Okay, means you are driving the Tesla car and you do not understand what is happening in the dashboard. Okay, so if it is moving fast, it is not moving at all. What is happening? What is happening wrong in the car? You are not aware of it. Okay. Although it is taking you from destination A to destination B, but you are not aware about what happened in between the journey. Okay. Now, one thing the recruiter or the interviewer may ask you, what do you mean by data versus information versus knowledge? So data is something raw facts and figures you collect from your daily life, from your surrounding. Okay, surrounding can be anything. Surrounding, and it also includes the online space as well. Okay, for example, you collected the weekly, like, daily temperature in a week. So this is the data. Okay. Now, what is the information? If you compute, process this data, okay, and to explain this data, information is actually the explanation of the data, and it makes more sense. It gives you the story, and using the information, you become okay. What is the purpose of collecting this data? What information can I get from the data? For example, in the information, when we try to generate information from the data, we do some certain kind of computation, certain analysis. So here I can say the average temperature over the week was 72 degrees Fahrenheit, with the highest temperature being 80 degrees on Wednesday. So this is the information. Okay, this information was not available here. So we did the calculation here. They said that they calculated the average. We are giving you the highest temperature. Now, what is the knowledge? Knowledge is something that is the core for me. That will help me to take decisions. So if I have to present something in terms of knowledge, it is the temperature typically rises in August due to seasonal changes, which affects local activities and energy consumption. So this is kind of knowledge. And the assignment, the activity I gave you on the very first page, try to include that what is data, what is information, and what is knowledge. One thing, data, when you process it, it becomes information. Okay, and when you process information, it becomes the knowledge. And it is the knowledge which the one who is able to make better analysis on the data will be the person who is having better information about the data. And the person who is doing some good analysis, finding good insights about the information, that person will be having more knowledge. So all the source of the knowledge coming from the data itself. But it is not that if someone is having the data is becoming knowledgeable. It is this journey from data to information, information to knowledge. Okay, that is making the knowledge actually more valuable. So this journey from coming from data to knowledge, this journey is nothing but the PGDBA, the course where you wish to apply for. Okay, so this is for today's lecture only. We studied about what the stats is all about, what kind of questions the interviewer can ask, what will be the intention, how, what kind of keywords you can use in your answers. Okay, basic idea about it. We did not study anything technical. Okay, and again, repeating, this session is designed to understand what kind of questions can be asked in the statistics of PGDB interview preparation. Okay, so it will not be like that you are preparing for the data science job interview and you are looking for these lectures, because both are serving purposes. Okay, so my main focus will be that you are actually able to implement the knowledge of stats in your interview PGDB. Okay, the data science stats questions are more technical, more I would say more difficult. These are simple questions. They are more relying on your common sense, common observations. Assumptions for these questions is that one person is not having background in these stats. Fine. Okay. So we'll be keep discussing the topics we studied today in the upcoming sessions. We'll be taking the upcoming sections in little more technical side. Today it was kind of more of an information and a story side. Okay. So this was for today. If you are having any question, you can always ping me, or you can comment down below your concern. We'll try to address each and every question. Okay. Thank you.